welcome back to another episode of MProper Mimi, where we talk about things that empower women at home, work, and play. I'm your host, Mimi Jax, and today I'm kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month by encouraging you to take time to reflect on your own personal mental health and growth. In this episode, I'm sitting with Kimberly Moore of Black Woman Be Whole. Now, I first met this fabulous woman, Kim, in celebration of one of our dear friends, Obioma Richardson, the founder of Watch Her Win NYC. And I absolutely loved Kim's energy and zest for life from the very get-go. So you know we hit it off right away. I saw what she was doing with Black Woman Be Whole and was super excited about the mental health workbook they were launching titled, Hey Sis, Are You Okay? So I wanted to bring Kim on the MProper Mimi podcast to share with you, our listeners, about some of the great things that she is doing to help empower women at home, work, and play. So allow me to let Kim introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about what it is that she's doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Mimi. I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you for having me on Improper Mimi. I've been excited. I've been listening to the podcast, and now it's my turn. So it's always a fun thing. Yeah, I mean, where do I start? Well, in about 2016, I was in a relationship, a 12-year relationship, which ended. And I think for me, like it was kind of like a whole reset of my life, trying to figure out what do I want to do. There was some depression because, the ending of a relationship for that long, that's a loss of identity. And so I think for me, it was really like a really tough time for me mentally. And I kind of distanced myself from other people. So I didn't do a good job of staying in touch and keeping my relationships and letting people support me. So, work through that with people. And then one day I was just reading this article that said that there were going to be as many divorced and single women as there were married. And it was actually talking about like the financial aspect that women would be going through, right? And so thinking about that, applying that to my life, realizing I went from two income living situation to a one income living situation, it was just like this thing, this epiphany, like, oh my God, I am like kind of screwed here. What am I going to do? And so I
Yeah.
decided to like do like a conference for women because I wanted these women to have the information that I didn't have. So fast forward a year. So MLK Day 2018, I had this conference, and my business partner now slash friend Eunicia, who's a therapist, was one of my presenters along with a few other people. Jaquette Timmons, she's a financial behaviorist, and Diana, who was talking about relationships. Um, and I realized that for me, I wanted to go deeper, and I didn't feel like the makeup of the room allowed that to happen because you can see certain people not willing to go deep enough just because you don't know who's in the room. And so, really being able to hone in on, I want a safe space for people to talk about all the things, not just the surface things, the fluffy things, but the heavy things, so that we can really start to address it. Fast forward a few months, I talked with Eunicia and I said, listen, I want to do a thing with you. We've been friends for 20 plus years. You're a therapist. I want to get into mental health work with women, specifically Black women or people who identify women, humans that identify as women and Black. And I think we could do something really cool together. So that was kind of like the genesis or the origin story of Black Woman Be Whole. And we got into it, sat at her table for days, hours on end, her kitchen table. And, the idea is always birthed at a kitchen table, right? So for women, I think that
Girl,
that's where
everything happens in the kitchen.
snacks, drinks, the table, and ideas and creativity, late nights. And so we came
Exactly.
to Black Woman Be Whole, and I think the rest was history. Like we were really living into it a little bit more as we kept doing it and talking through it and realizing, who's our audience, what do they need, what can we provide them, and what's the makeup or the infrastructure to support doing this work. So that's the long and short of it, if I could like call it that. But that's how Black Woman Be Whole started. And it started from a place of like my pain, which I think for a lot of people,
Right.
when they create things, they create it out of a need that maybe they have, right, or that they want. So That's pretty much it from, I think, the origin story of a
Right.
Black woman be whole.
And that also just even goes to speak on what an awesome woman you are, because not just that you looking or you had to find something of healing for yourself, but you took it to the next level of wanting to help others to
Yeah.
heal, and so that's just like, um, like we say, empowering women, helping other women that have gone through perhaps what you have gone through, or whatever it is that they may be suffering with, or that they may need to heal from, or just a new chapter in their life, that you were coming and bringing things together that would help them to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
thank you for that. I love it.
oh, I love it. I love it too. I think for me it really feeds my soul. Like I'm really big on community, I'm
Hmm.
big on sisterhood, I'm big on supporting other
Right.
women. That's one of like my values. And to be able to do this and live into that is such a beautiful thing for me. And to be doing it
Yeah.
with a friend of mine, like we've been friends for over 2 decades, and so
Hmm.
we have this bond that has been strengthened through our business and our professional life, and in turn has strengthened our personal life. So we've been saying we're modeling this thing that we want other people to do, because people are always like, you've been friends with each other, so many women aren't able to be friends with each other so long, no catty, no
Right.
weird stuff, no like breaks in between the relationship. So I think with the exception of my breakup and when I ghosted everyone in my life, um
Hmm.
they still give me crap about that, and it's like, can you let that go? That was a long time ago too. So I feel like it's the
Yeah.
only time, like as a friend, I've kind of like not been there, so they keep that on their back
Hmm.
pocket sometimes. But to be able to help women who look like me, who I know have similar
Hmm.
circumstances, and who really do need the support is such a beautiful, amazing experience. I always said, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. No one's going to come and help us. No one's going to come and save us. The resources aren't there. The funding
Right.
isn't there half the time. We make 63 cents on the dollar. So it's like a perfect storm of nonsense that does not support us. And so, I'm stepping in to show up for my sisters. And for me, that's a very important
Yes.
piece of being able to do this work.
No, no, and it's definitely needed. Thank you. And then even for like these past couple of years where we've come through this pandemic, how has that kind of impacted Black Women Be Whole? Like, how has that kind of had any obstacles, or kind of had to make you shift in how you're able to present and bring and be there for the ladies?
That's a great question. Let me tell you something. The pandemic has done a doozy on everyone's mental health. So it's also kind of like a very weird thing, because everyone's going through it and we're still
uh,
having to support each other. Eunicia's a therapist and she's seeing her clients. They're all going through the same things. We've just been talking about how like bizarre that is and like unheard of in our time, because we've never experienced that. And so I think we had a very
right.
difficult time for the pandemic because, one, our mental health was impacted. I was working from home, I was isolated, same for Eunicia. And so it was very difficult for us to feel like that energy that we had experienced when we were like doing something. We did a focus group, we were ready to launch, and then the pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're like, what the heck do we do? Because we don't have anything. Everything that we built was based on being
I
in
was like in
person
person.
and connecting. I mean, like, we have one of our exercises was like going around the room and hugging every woman in the room. You can't do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
No, no,
had
no,
to
no,
retool everything.
no.
And we just had to pivot, and it was so difficult because we've never had to do that before. Everything that everyone has ever done has always been in person. So we had to shift our minds to think about what how do you create similar value in a 2D space, and also convey what you need to, and providing a safe space for them as well, because we talk about some heavy stuff. So how can we have people women
Yeah.
be supported in those spaces? And it was really hard for us to really think about it. But we had to go back to the kitchen table. The kitchen table is the MVP in this business. I don't know how we
If you
we
don't have
had
one,
to
get yourself one. You need
get
a
your
kitchen
kitchen
table.
table. Get a kitchen table. Okay, that kitchen table
Hmm.
is serious. So we sat there and we just were like, we've got to do something. We've got to figure it out. We took the elements of it and we said, well, how do we do this like virtually? We took a lot of classes ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and we started to track how do we feel and what's missing for us. So we just really replicated the process but in a virtual space because we went out and looked at a lot of different programs. We actually attended, we spent a ton of money attending things so that we can know and say for sure this is for us or this is not. And then we took what we wanted to do and
Right.
we made it what we wanted to. And so we just did the same kind of thing. So tons of Zoom meetings, tons of like webinars. And so we were able to then kind of extract the things or flip them in a way that allowed us to really understand what are we trying to provide in this space and kind of like level it out. So the pivot was interesting, and I
Yeah.
think for a lot of us we were all going through it. So very very interesting time. I will not forget it, I assure you. It was
Girl,
a
I really hope that nobody does, because there's so many things that we learn about ourselves. Like
right.
how do you interact when you're the only one in the office? Like if you're the only one at home, you're the only one in the office. Like how do you work in that environment? How do you and some people like for like my sister, she's an introvert. She's fine. She's like, I didn't want to go
Right.
to the office anyway. I'm good. Email, email, email. And me, I'm a social butterfly. So I'm like, hey, how
Yes.
you doing? Good to see you, talking to everyone in the office. And now I'm home alone, like looking out the window. I see like someone walking down the street. I'm like, oh, look,
Yeah.
someone's jogging in the neighborhood. Talking to myself at home, right? So we all had to adjust different
Yes.
ways. And I'm telling you, I was not going outside anywhere. So I was really like, kind of
Right.
like, I just needed that intervention to be like,
Exactly.
it's okay to go take a walk around the block. It's okay
Go
to
to the club
breathe,
supermarket.
relax. You're not dying. Right? It's now I'm like, okay, it's almost just about almost back to
Right.
normal, but still,
Right.
everybody wash your hands. Got to keep on washing your hands.
Well, it's funny
Oh
because
man.
those
But
grandmas who always said that went through it back in 1918. I was always wondering why my grandmother was like this. Now I know. Don't touch
mhm.
me. Don't go in nobody's house. Don't touch nobody's stuff. You stay where you are.
Mhm.
Like it. Oh, it makes sense. It's cyclical.
Yeah. You don't know how clean other people are in their homes or whatnot. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff was popping up. So you guys pivoted and you were doing like virtual events. I mean, you guys have a podcast. I know Black Woman Be Whole is a wonderful podcast as well. And
Yes.
we're going to make sure that we give everyone all the details on where to find you, how to find you. But I know one of the ventures and activities that you guys are up to recently that I was like super excited about. I was like, oh, I'm going to get me one. I got me a, hey sis, are you okay?
Because we were all not okay.
That's right. We're not all okay. But tell me a little more about this effort and this activity on how to, check in on people like this healing journey. Like what is this? Tell me what it is.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. It is definitely a labor of love. We actually worked on this book during the pandemic. And so, the foreword speaks about the pandemic because when we started it, we actually started it before the pandemic and then here it comes. And so we really had to think about what some of the elements in there and retool a little bit. So that was good and bad, right? Like it delayed some production, but it also allowed us to really capture like what's going on presently so that it felt more relevant and present for people. Um, but Hey Sis, Are You Okay was really born out of like our desire for people who want to do the work on their own and not like have a whole group setting because a big part of what we do is about group work and community. But there's some people, like you said, the introverts, the people who really just want to sit down and do it on their own and kind of through their own process. We wanted to create something for people that allowed them to see like our methodology, which is about the people, the labels, and the life events and how they shape you and tell people who you are. So the people that raise you, they give you your values, they give you all the things that you now that show up in your life. You speak the way you've been spoken to. So all of those things, they give you your labels. So if they called you smart, you might have been okay. If they called you stupid, you might have had a lot of problems, right? So
Right.
it's really being realistic about what's been given to you in your formative years and how it's impacted you. And then, the life events. We've all gone through childhood, puberty. So there's rites of passages. If you're a particular age, you're going to go through a rite of passage. And so how does that
Mm-hmm.
impact you, based on those kind of other factors as well? Because I am very resilient. I grew up in the 80s
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up by
Mm-hmm.
myself because everybody was at work. And
That's
when I
key.
tell you, you can drop me in, and you can drop me in a war zone and I might make it, it's because of how I've been conditioned and raised.
Right.
Is that always a good thing? Maybe not. But I am
Mm-hmm.
very tough and resilient and I can make it through a lot of things, whereas some people cannot. And so that has a lot to do with your family structure and what's been given to you and what you've received. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you reject things because it doesn't fit you. But I'm really exploring those things and how did they make you be who you are today, or shape who you are today. As I think that's where you have to start, because where does it all start anyway? In the formative years, right? It's not like it doesn't start in a workplace with white supremacy. It starts at home. And so really,
Right.
exploring those origins in a way that allow you to grow from it or learn, maybe this is not worth me holding on to, so that I can move on with my healing journey, is very important for people. And people do that in different stages of their life. And so
Yeah.
we wanted you to have a resource. We wanted women to have a resource where they can explore that on their own at their own pace, because not everyone's story is about marathons or sprints. Sometimes it's like stops and starts.
Mm-hmm.
You put it down, it's too much because you can't deal. So, giving you room to do that and at
Yeah.
your own speed, because you are in control of your healing journey, and helping women understand that, like, the only way it's going to happen is if you show up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Find
Yeah.
the tools to give you what you need to, find the resources, find the people who can, help you see things in a different way, through therapy and those other kind of resources, so that
Yeah.
you can be good, whatever that means
Yeah.
for you, or be okay. Because sometimes okay is better than the alternative, So,
Right. And a lot of it is baby steps too, like even recognizing that
yes,
there's something that you have control over and how you react to certain situations, and knowing that it stems from within you. And
yes,
sometimes it does take that time to sit back, relax, write it down, really kind of think about it, have like those prompting questions that make you wonder, like, why am I like this? And is there anything that I can do that's within my control to change it or to affect the outcome differently? Um, and all throughout the pandemic and even before, like, you'll keep hearing me talk about on the podcast about setting boundaries, and not just setting boundaries but
yes.
communicating those boundaries to other people. So I can't get
Woo.
mad at you if you don't
Yeah,
respect my boundaries, if I've never told you what my boundaries are. So
right,
there's
right.
different things that we have to learn about ourselves, and that we can work to control, so that it helps to improve our lives as we go, and the interactions we have with other people, because all throughout our life,
Oh,
different
I
stages.
love that.
Yeah, because relationships make up so much of our lives, so we really have to
Right.
work on that. So absolutely.
And also the relationship with yourself, because a lot of us don't know ourselves as well as we should, because who you are, I can tell people, I'm not afraid to talk. I'm an extrovert. I was not raised to be a shy, retiring type of person. So sometimes I'm in spaces like, not me, not you, and not us, okay? Because that's not how it's going to work. And I think what I want other women to know is that they are more powerful than they know. Like, get your power back, because that it's in your mind sometimes where you don't believe that things are going to go well, or that you can't change things. And it could be chemical, but it's also that conditioning that you have been raised to be a particular kind of person, whether it's to be quiet, as most girls have been raised to be. If you don't speak up right now, like you just said, then no one, you won't, you dictate to people how they should treat you. Because if you don't, they'll treat you the way that they've been treated, or that they've treated others.
Ooh,
And
girl,
so
yes.
that might not work for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I just want women to know that they are more powerful than they know, and you can undo a lot of the things that have conditioned you to be a particular way that's not serving you.
Right.
Because that's what we need to be doing right now. This
Mm-hmm.
is a great reset. Let's go.
That's
Let's
right.
do it.
Oh man, girl, you just are like just leading right into like my next questions and everything, because that's one of the
Oh,
questions.
am I? Tell
Yes,
me
yes,
more.
yes. Because I mean, that's one of the questions I have is like, why is it so important for women to take charge of their
Mm.
own healing?
Yeah. I think for me, it's important for women to take charge of their own healing, because this is like the optimist, the Pollyanna. I want everyone to just have a good life. Like, we're here,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want you to wait for the rapture. I don't want you to wait till after, like, we're here right now, right? Like, no
Mm-hmm.
need to wait for it. Create it right here for yourself. And then in turn, you're going to be giving that to others. So we can't have a healthy community if the ones are like down and they're not really understanding that, like, you're part of something, right? Like, I'm part of an ecosystem of family, of friends, of a community. And it's important for me to be well so I could be well with others or help others, because that's like one of my values. But also, like, why would I want to be sad and miserable and kind of like really not in a healthy space? I think really having happy, healthy families, communities, and individuals for me is like that altruistic kind of thing. Like, yeah, and especially women, we carry so many burdens. We do so much, and it's like, give a bitch a break. Oops, sorry.
That's
Give a
fine,
bleep
yeah.
a break.
Right? Just
Give me a
let me
break.
live my life, right?
Right.
And
Like, if I want to be out there living my best life, let me. Like, cheer me
mhm.
on. Don't like try and like shut me down or hold me back. So
Yeah.
I just want people to be happy and healthy and whole.
Yeah.
Damn. Just so
Mhm.
that we can like live good lives.
Yeah. And
So,
just you even saying be whole is, like perfect for me too, because it's like so much of what we've gone through, we wear so many different hats. We're trying to support other people, whether it's kids or family or work or the community itself. It can all like weigh on our shoulders, and we're not taking the chance or the opportunity to be whole ourselves. Um, like a pot with like cracks and everything in it, like when are we going to like patch up
right.
our cracks so that we can be whole? Because as a Scorpio, as an independent single mother, I have many times just pushed through, be like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do
Right.
this, like can't worry about that, and then I'll break down. And
Right.
then
You
it'll
like,
just
let me
all
put that
come
down the road.
crumbling down. Right, exactly. And it's so much healthier if you process things, like along the way, and you don't just hold everything in. And I've had to learn this myself. Like, okay, don't just hold
I
it in,
love
hold it in,
that for
hold it in, and then
you.
you can't breathe. And yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, whether it's reflections from my daughter of how she sees me, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want her to um me and my cousin, we talk a lot, and I'm like, well, our daughters aren't going to have the same issues that we had. So
Right.
it's like, okay, I don't
Right.
want for her those burdens that I've had. I'm like, okay, and we all want better for those around us, and not just for her, but for her friends and for other young women. I want them to, feel strong enough and empowered enough that they can make decisions about their lives, and they don't have to constantly put themselves second to somebody else, and constantly worry about other people,
Yeah.
put other people first. Um,
Yeah.
because it's so true. We really have to take care of ourselves first so that we can then take care of other people.
And you're modeling really beautiful things for her. So you are breaking the traditions and the things that they say, because that's important, right? Like, we emulate what we see, right? Like, I became a caretaker at a young age. I helped my mother co-parent my brother at the age of 9 until I went away to college. And so, um in this regard, I rejected that because I don't have children, because I just was like, I know what it's all about, changing a diaper at 2 a.m. and that's not fun,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I do
Right.
realize
Yeah.
that like you learn things and then you either continue them or you break them or change them. And that is
Right.
really where the beauty is, like when you break or change it, because you're just like, I have the wherewithal and the understanding and the knowledge, even if you don't, but you
Mm-hmm.
know it's not right, to not visit this on someone else because of how it made me feel. That's community. When you don't want to
Yeah.
pass on your thing to someone else. Because there are a lot of people who say, oh, it happened to me, so it needs to happen to you too. And it's like, whoa, that is not okay, you know? And I think for me, that's
Right.
like,
Right.
that's not healthy. And actually, it's toxic and traumatizing. And you need to not be that. But so many of us have been traumatized in a way that we do have that belief. And so I love that. I love that. And I love when you said like we were mending the cracks. I mend my cracks with
Mm.
gold lace because that's not no plaster,
Woo.
not no boring ass plaster, girl. Just let it look beautiful and pretty and all of that. So, when you think about the
Mm-hmm.
cracks, fill them up with like gorgeous, beautiful colors and not some boring oat plaster that contractors
I
use.
like that.
That was a
That's
terrible
right.
analogy, but I'm
Yes.
okay.
I'm picking up what you're putting down though, because what I got from that is you see these stretch marks. Yes, they are beautiful and they help make me who
Yes,
I am.
girl.
So I don't
They're
have to
shiny
hide
too.
them
They hit the right light.
exactly. Facts. Very true. Yes. So you can see the glory and what I have come through. Okay. I'm not hiding it. You're just going to
Exactly.
see it's a little extra shiny.
Yes. Yes.
And I love
You're like,
being
you mean I
extra.
made like a
So.
glitter ball? I love it. Put some glitter on it, girl. Put glitter on it. Let it shine through. A rainbow color of
Yes.
glitter on those things. I listen, I got it on
Yes.
my
And
arms. Like, okay, shoot, let's go.
right. And then when
That's
people can see
it.
it, then I could tell you a story about it. Each one teach one, telling
Because
you
the
a
body
story.
tells the story. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh
I love
gosh.
it. We're
Mhm.
starting a new thing, body glitter in a different way.
That's right. Yes, right. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, like, I know, like for me myself, I, you know, went through education, went through, school and everything like that. Was predominantly white schools for most of my time. I got pregnant, in high school and ended up having my daughter, and then I went to college and all that stuff. And so it just kind of, I guess for me, part of that empowering of young women is, just making sure that those stereotypes or whatever people thought about you, or they thought you
Yes.
couldn't do this, or they thought you were going to fail, or they just didn't respect you, or they're just thinking, oh, single your mom working, like, oh, what are you doing, like you'll just always stay there forever. Like, no, by any means necessary. I'm gonna just work and do what I have to do for my
Exactly.
family. um, so that kind of really pushed me to want to help other, like young women, and help them to find their strength and everything like that, so that they, can know that yes, you can get through this. It's not the end of the world. So like your work that you're working with nonprofit, and then you started working with Black Women Be Whole, is this something that you've always wanted to do? Like, did you always want to work with um, helping organizations or helping women, or like, how did you discover that, passion within yourself? And I know you mentioned also like just your healing process, but did you know, or did you think
Yes.
that you would always want to work with women this way?
I so that's so interesting. I did not, and because I'd actually worked with youth, so a lot of I
Okay.
was a board member with a nonprofit organization for a number of years that was youth focused. I was a mentor with that same organization for a number of years prior to that. Like I got out of college and I did I worked with across the street in the summer program. So a lot of the things that I did had been youth focused. And I'm not sure what happened, but I think for me, I just was like, okay, the youth can't be okay until the adults are okay. Because the women
Mm-hmm.
have to be okay because they're the caretakers. And so they're creating the environment for these children to thrive and be healthy. And so you can want everything you want for this kid, but if they go home to that mama or that father and they go home to that environment that's not healthy, it can all get undone. So, for me, it was really like, hey, let's try a different way with this because, I'm a woman. I know what I'm going through and what I'm experiencing. And it was just like this epiphany, like, are other people experiencing it? And so you start asking questions and you start seeing the, commonalities. Once you get to a certain age range, like, oh, that too? Ooh. And so for me, I think,
Right? Mm-hmm.
yeah, I wanted to widen the net and kind of like, oh, I hate saying the word impact because, I love doing this. I want to continue doing it. I want it to be a thing that I'm remembered for. So I guess that is impact. And it's oddly enough, I thought I made this switch because I had watched this PBS show that talked about civil rights leaders. So like Martin Luther King was the church, Whitney Young was the business. Oh God, who was the guy who did SNCC? That was kind of like the colleges. So everyone had a different piece of the pie to make up the whole pie. And so they were
Mm-hmm.
working on their end to support, civil rights. And I just thought that was an amazing concept. Like if we and it's replication of the village, right? Like the auntie who's the healer, like that's her job. Like let her do her job. You don't do the job if you're going out to build stuff. So, it's living into the thing that you want to be or that you may have some skills for. You got to go get some more, but also just really thinking about like what's the hole that I want to fill. And I saw that, and we saw because Eunicia, as a therapist, she's her 95% of her clients are Black and women. Um, that there was a need for mental health for Black women, you know, and real like conversation around the things that we're experiencing. Like we talk about incarceration because that's a storyline for a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us. Whether it's indirect or second or third hand. We talked about kind of like if we get deep enough with intimate partner violence, like just if it needs to come up and someone needs to speak about it, we got you, because that's where else are you going if you're not going to get therapy, which can sometimes be cost prohibitive, or you don't have enough Black therapists or people who are culturally competent to deal with some of this stuff. um, and then you also have like people who just don't have access, and so for us it was really about like what can we provide to women to help them, because not everyone's getting the thing they need, and a lot of them are suffering in silence, or I'm like the de facto therapist for my friends who don't get therapy. Like, okay, girl, I was on here for 5 hours listening to your problems and
Mm-hmm.
I need to go to sleep. I don't have all the
Right.
tools
Be
and
like,
it made you feel better to dump on me, but now I'm sad. So
right.
I need, and then, calling your other friends, like, I need you to pass this off tomorrow to the other friend because I did enough today. So really thinking about like, how do we
Exactly.
collectively, support stuff? So that's what it was in my long
Yeah.
roundabout way, whatever the question you asked. I'm sorry.
You got it. You got it.
I
Yes,
went
because it was
on a
really.
tangent.
But see, tangents are what that passion that comes out of us too. When we start talking about one thing and then start talking about another thing,
Yes.
and that even made me think about the intersectionality of everything. Because you started with the kids and then you realize, okay, well, in order to help the kids, I have to help the women. I have to help, like, the head of, even if the man's the head of the household, but sometimes they're
Yes.
not there, or we're at least the neck. So we're making the head turn. So either way, the woman is
Hello.
really like shaping and forming the household in these formidable years for the children. And if we're impacted by the penal system, or if we're impacted by violence or by gun violence, then even if it's not us personally, it impacts us through the community, and that can also impact the
Yes.
children through how we act to that. I know some children
Mm-hmm.
who their parents don't let them go nowhere. Like, we live in Brooklyn, but they know their
Right.
neighborhood. They don't really go anywhere else, don't do anything else. Even when I lived in Boston, like how I said, I went to mostly white schools. Well, all my friends in the city, when I was in the city, I had some friends who never left the city. So they've never even been to the suburbs or to they've never worked in a company that was predominantly white. They never went to a school that was predominantly white. They never went to a city that was predominantly white.
Right.
Well, people might say Boston's predominantly white, but we just don't go to those parts. Like, you stay in your neighborhood.
That's it.
So
real close. Like, ooh, I don't know what's going on over there, but I'll stay here.
Right. Like, I know my neighborhood. I know what's going on around here. But yeah, those things that impact us, or things that we've come in contact with, change how we act and react, and our kids see that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
And those are like life events, right? Those are the things. I mean, I didn't grow up in anyone's home. I was outside, and it was like, come home before the light comes on, but also just be wild and free until then, because there was no one watching. So, not having that scrutiny, and kind of having everything like sort of be managed or something. So I don't have like that kind of fear of like, what if someone's watching me, or, being afraid to go outside. There are people who are just, or I have a friend who's very, she has a lot of anxiety because she always thinks that people is going to think that she's stupid. And it's like, but why? Right? Because it's the upbringing. It's the thing. You could never do anything right. And so therefore you felt a certain way. And so, and imagine all of those different experiences coming into a room, and no one's talking, and we're expected to connect. We're bringing all of our things with us into the room. Okay. And so it is hard as heck to connect.
And not even knowing that we have something similar. Like, I'm sitting right next to somebody, and we could be going through the same thing, but us not talking or connecting until we actually, make that connection, or to speak on it, so that we know that, oh yeah, I went through that too.
Yeah.
So you really do have to ask the question.
You do. And you have to be brave enough to be okay with being vulnerable, right? Like, the safe space is what allows people to share, because someone is in the room is going to have the same experience. I mean, we start really big, right? Like, to be Black and a woman in America, whether you're Caribbean, African, or whatever, you got the gist of it now. Hello. And then we distill it down even further, because there's so many different kind of layers that we all have experienced. A lot of times it's the major themes, right? We've been caretakers, or we've had to do this or that, or I hate to say we've been abandoned, or we got daddy issues, but it seems to be a heavy thing. When you break it down into themes of like popular versus not so popular, you're like, wow, what is going on over here with these popular themes? They're not healthy. Okay. That's why we've got a lot of work to do,
like, all
for
right,
healing. And so it's like, is it trauma bonding or is it healing? No, we got to get it together. We got to get it out. We got to name it. And then we've got to do our own kind of work for it. Because what you need to heal is not what I need to heal. It may be very different, but you know what? Give me some information. Exactly. I might be able to look into that. And so connecting and sharing, storytelling, like, that's a cultural thing for us, right? Like, talking and connecting through stories. Yes. Is important. So we get you talking. Yeah, we don't do a lot of talking. We facilitate, and you're talking, because it's not our space. Like, we're not here to teach you anything. We're here to help you, let go a little bit and feel safe, because we've curated the space in a way that allows you to understand that these women in the room are just as in need of things as you are, and they're willing to do some work too. So let's do it together, because it's hard to do it by yourself. So that's the gist of it, if I had to. And there's a little bit of twerking, and then we're going to do some work. So there's all the things in there when we do the brunches. Because you got to let loose a little bit.
Twerking, working, twerk. Well, shoot, that sounds like just about everything I like to do. So we got some brunches, we got some hugs, we got some storytelling, connecting, brunching, twerking. Did I say brunching? Because,
Yes. Brunching is beautiful. Brunch is beautiful. Oh, bonding over brunch. We break bread, and and we get some mimosas and get you right. But I love that. Like, I've met lots of amazing women, and people that I already knew were amazing. I've gotten to know them more through this, and they've been supportive, and they've been wonderful. And not to say that they've bought into it, but it's so rewarding and validating to see people say, I need this. And it's like, I'm so glad that I created this
Yes.
thing that you can use. Thank you to anyone who's bought it and supported
Oh,
it. Thank you
good.
to anyone who will, because it's for you, you know? And so I feel like I'm connecting with you, even though I'm not there through that book, because of the things, right? We just took what we're going through or we've gone
Right.
through. We've added some things that are like best practices in therapy, therapeutic, but it's stuff that we would want. So there it is.
Yeah. And it's okay to claim it. Yes. And there
Claim
we
it.
go. Hey, sis, are you okay? Hey.
Hello.
You got to check on
Yes.
your strong friends. So,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No more facades of
Oh,
being
good.
strong. That's not going to happen anymore. We can't do it. We must let go.
That's so old school. Yes, yes. We're all about authenticity now. We're going to bring our full self to our friendships,
Yes. Well,
to
and
our
here's the thing.
relationships.
And I
Yes.
tell people, some of your authenticity is not for everybody to handle. You got to figure out who can handle it all.
Mm.
Sometimes it's like I can't talk to you about that yet. We got to get you there. But I will. You will definitely
Uh-huh.
get there if you continue to be friends with me. You
Uh-huh.
know.
That's right. We're working on it. We're building our strength. Kim, well, thank you so much. I had a great time, and I really wanted to bring you on so that we could let people know about Black Woman Be Whole. Because I mean, exactly what we were talking about. I truly believe in sharing our Black stories, helping to lift up each other by like talking about either what we've been through or what we've accomplished. Because hey, you're next. This is something that you can do, that your daughter can do. And actually, I hear like the booming system going down the street, so I might just need to say that
Okay,
part. Yeah.
BK. Hello. Is it summertime?
Yes.
When it gets July and August,
They
I
think it's
know.
summertime.
It's 65
Forget
degrees.
about it.
Calm
Dude comes
down.
down the street. Right. They're like, I want everyone to hear my system and I want your alarms to go off also.
Right. I don't want you to go to sleep.
Right. Yeah. Up all night. But yeah, I really believe that like sharing our stories, sharing our Black stories are so important, because then that lets other people see that, we're not perfect. Like the things that we've gone through are things that they can overcome as well. And so I just love highlighting women, bringing women on to the Improper Mimi show, where we talk about empowering women at home, work, and play. And, we have a good time with it. So
Yes.
thank you so
I
much
might
for
go
coming and
twerk after I
sharing.
hang up with you.
We got to get some more steps in. So, we got to like,
Okay,
do it all.
and
Oh
every
my
session with a
goodness.
dance off. Like, what you want? Okay.
Awesome. Well, tell everyone where we can find you and where we can learn more information about Black Women Be Whole.
I'm happy to do that. So you can go to our website, www.blackwomanbewhole, WHOLE, not the other one, because people spelled it wrong all the time, .com.
Uh-huh.
And,
We're
we've got our
healing.
podcast on there, the book, all sorts of stuff. You can find out about our events, our brunches, our retreats, which we hope to do soon. Take y'all out into, the wilderness and let's get primal a little bit and let some of that out. Stay tuned for that.
Yes.
You can
Mm-hmm.
find us on Instagram and Facebook, Black Woman Be Whole. Yeah, and our podcast, you can find it on all of the things: Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, Google Play. It's called the Black Woman Be Whole
Yeah.
podcast. We're on season 2, trying to laugh it up, figure it out. We just
Woohoo.
talk. We just talk some stuff. We talk some smack. Come and listen to us. Laugh with us. That's all I can say. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
anyone wants to email us, info@blackwomanbewhole.com. We love connecting with people, partnerships, anything that anyone wants to do. Shoot us an email. We definitely or hit us in the DMs. Okay. We definitely love talking to
Hey.
people and connecting. So any way, shape, or form that we can
Yeah.
work with people, that's what we're about. We don't want to keep it to ourselves and and no one should anyway. So that's it. I
That's
think all
right,
the
because
things.
sharing is caring. Yes,
Yes,
excellent.
it
And I'll
is.
be sure to list out all the things too, so people could just go ahead and click, 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 click.
Click all the
Click and
things.
share, like and review.
Yes. And we
Mm-hmm.
got some
All
shirts.
right.
We got some cute little shirts, everything. We coming out with the season
Yeah.
collection. Y'all keep it cute out there. That's what we need to do.
100%. I'm looking forward
Yes.
to it.
Yes. And by
All
hey sis, are
righty.
you okay? For you and your friends. And y'all should do a little group thing. Keep it cute.
Ooh, ooh,
Oh,
ooh. That's
okay, there it
right.
is. That's
Get
right.
it, get through it all
Listen, you see
together.
how looking through the rainbow and the sunshine? We were like, it's something there. Just get it,
Hmm.
girl. You know, the imagery was
It was
important to us.
happiness.
So,
It brought that smile.
right. Where your joy at?
Yeah.
Find it. Over there. You find it on your own. You can find it. So, that's what we wanted to do. I'm about to go find my joy in a glass of wine
Definitely.
next, honey.
I'm right there with you. And on that note,
Yes.
oh, good. Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show. And I know that we will definitely be keeping in touch.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to been able to do this with you. And I had fun, most importantly. So thank you so much for your platform. Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for listening to this episode of MProper Mimi. Like Kim said, we bring you this content as a labor of our love. We want women to know that they are more powerful than they think they are. And now is the time to take care of yourself and your mental health. All month long, I will be sharing clips from other MProper Mimi episodes with tips on mental health awareness. Until then, please remember to share this episode with another sister and ask her, hey sis, are you okay? All right, y'all, stay as fabulous as you are, protect your self-worth, and as always, keep telling Black stories. Ciao.